What's up, YouTube? KidMoto22 here. Coming to you today, well, from my garage. It's wintertime and I'm not going to be getting outside and doing any riding anytime soon, so this is part of my winter mod series. I think this is the second mod that I'll be doing this winter, and today we're going to be doing the wind splitter switch out. So I have a Harley Davidson wind splitter on there right now, and I'm going to be putting on, well, I'll show you in just a minute. Let's get after it. All right, everybody, so the first thing I want to do is just give you kind of a really good tour of what my bike looks like right now with the wind splitter windshield on there. So yeah, you can kind of see the wind splitter is a really good looking windshield. And then you can see the connectors on the outside here, how it kind of sits on right onto the front forks. These connectors just kind of slip in right here. And so I've never really been a big fan of those because the windshield essentially can just be popped right off. It's good for install and for taking it off, but it's really not, never really felt that secure. But as far as a windshield goes on a blacked out Road King, this looks really good. So the install for that was really quite easy, but I just wanted to give you kind of a good tour of the bike and what that looked like from top to bottom. All right, so let's take a look and see what we're getting into today. We are going to be installing the Memphis Road Warrior. Been looking forward to this. I've had this in my garage for a little while. I've been looking forward to doing this install. Let's get it all unpackaged and take a look at what we got here. So I've had a Memphis gauntlet fairing on my Sportster, and I absolutely love the products. So we have our instructions and our mounting brackets. One thing I like about these Memphis fairings is that they come with all the parts that you're going to need to do the install. That is really great. I would have to say though, you do have to buy the mounting kits and the actual fairing separate. So, but essentially they come with everything you need after that. Really easy install. Those are the grommet pieces that are going to be installed on the bike, where the mounting brackets are going to connect to those. Those are going to go on both sides of the fairing of the bike. We don't need that stuff. This is the screw packet that is going to connect the windshield to the fairing itself. I believe I got the 15-inch shield. Because that was the largest size, if I remember correctly, that was the largest size that you could still get in a smoked color. So once you start getting larger than that, the shields themselves are all clear. And so I wasn't wanting a clear shield. So that shield's gonna go on like that. So that's kind of the what it's going to look like on there. So pretty excited about this install. Now that we've got this thing completely unpackaged, let's do some de-install on the bike. All right, next step is going to be the removal of some of the parts that need to come off to put the wind splitter on. First thing I'm going to be taking off is this cowl that I'd put on the headlight. I like the looks of it, but I do not think it's going to fit, and I don't think it's going to go with the style of the wind splitter. So I'm going to remove this. I keep saying wind splitter, and what I mean is road wire fairing. And just as I suspected, it's going to require some cleaning underneath here. So next we'll just be removing the wind splitter. And again, kind of the design of that, this is the one thing I didn't really like, is that essentially to remove it, you pull it back, you pull it straight up, and the removal is done. The next step in this process is going to be to remove the outer connections on both sides here and here, and here, and here. And while I do that, I'm actually going to be installing the pieces that go on. So this piece that you see here is going to replace those. It's going to go into place just like this. And it's going to replace these pieces here where the wind splitter goes in. This is going to be the new connector for the Memphis Shades road wire fairing. For the benefit of everybody at home, I'm going to actually attempt to do the install of the brackets, the mounting brackets, upside down so you guys can kind of see. So there's a contour to these brackets that you can kind of see, and they actually match the contour of the fairing itself. So they go like that and like this respectively on each side, and then that will be mounted onto the bike, onto the mounts that we already put on. So I'm going to go ahead and put these together and kind of show you how these pieces go. So we will put another socket in here, and these are usually just hand tightened on here, so they're not too tight. And these grommets actually come assembled, so you have to take them apart and then reassemble them in the fairing the correct way. So what I always like to do is make sure that I'm watching how they come apart. So there's a couple of different washers there. There's a regular washer and then a lock washer. And then the grommet itself, which looks like this, and that's actually in two pieces, and I'll show you how that works in just a second. And then this one here. And so these grommets actually move back and forth in here. So when you get the actual fairing on, it does require some adjusting to get it straight and in the right position. So you can kind of see these can move around a little bit in here, just based on how they're mounted in here. So it's pretty self-explanatory. You can kind of see they only go one way. They're not going to go upside down. So it's pretty easy to tell what direction these are going to go in the fairing itself. So if we kind of tip it up, you can kind of see they're going to go in here. So the piece of the grommet that I want to show you how this part of it works is that this is actually in two pieces. So you can kind of see these two pieces here, okay? So the rubber part actually gets inserted through the fairing, and then the plastic part goes in here, which is going to be what locks it in place. So the rubber part's going to go into the fairing. like so. So you can kind of see that. Whoop, there we go. So that goes in there. And then you can see it from that side too. Kind of tip that up a little bit. So there's 4 of those that are going to go in the fairing. One of the things I like about the Memphis Shades products is that I had a gauntlet fairing on my Sportster, and their essential design is the same with these grommets. The brackets are very similar. The mounting, how the mounts go on each bike is fairly similar. And so once you've done one of these, an installation is really pretty straightforward, which is really a great thing about this product. So then the next part that you're going to want to do is that this insert goes in through here like this, and your bolt's going to go in here. Now, this is where, you know, the bolt's going to hold the grommet on, but the bolt is actually designed to hold the bracket in place also. So you're going to put your grommets in, and then you're going to put your bracket on, kind of all at the same time. Now there is a flat part to this bracket that kind of, you can kind of see helps slide this in. So it goes in this way, and that helps kind of lock these things in place too. So you probably are going to want to make sure that you have that pointed in the right direction when you're putting it in there. And you can just turn that and kind of slide it in the right direction as you're doing your mounting. And what I like to do, and what I did the last time when I did my Sportster, is I picked kind of a neutral position for both of them. So on both sides, I just picked a neutral position, and I started with a neutral position. And then I made my adjustments based on neutral on each side. I found that was kind of the easiest way to start, was in that kind of neutral position. Again, so I just hand tighten them first. Now keep in mind, the fairing itself is plastic. The bracket is metal, and the connectors are metal, but the fairing itself is plastic, so you really don't want to over tighten those, because if you over tighten them, you're gonna fracture the piece that's holding it in place, and you could break the fairing too. So they're pretty tough, but I like to just kind of tighten them down, so they're gonna be held in place, but I'm not gonna really crank and wrench them in. Specifically right now, when I'm really looking for a neutral position to start with and to line up the fairing. So you don't really wanna get it too tight to begin with. So I have one side in, you can kind of see it's all put together, and the grommet's on that side. And we'll continue working to get the other side in. Again, I'm just going to kind of try to start in a neutral position. And what I mean by neutral position, I guess, is I really am just trying to install the brackets in a kind of the middle of how they get installed. So there's kind of a middle position, and there you go. I dropped one. So I got that lock washer back in place. Maybe I'll tip it this way, see if it's a little bit easier to see from that side. This one's just a little bit more awkward. There we go. And again, just kind of looking for a neutral position for that in the middle of that, where that install would be at. So that when I install it on the bike, if they're both in the middle, then I can adjust them kind of both according to where that adjustment's going to need to be at. Again, just kind of a little bit past hand tightening to start with. So there we go. I have the brackets on, grommets in, brackets installed. Next thing is to put it on the bike and start making those adjustments. So the other thing that's really nice that I wanted to point out about the fairing is their locking mechanism. So this just slides back and it pulls up. Now these just snap down into place, and that's what locks the fairing into place. So I'll show you that again. This piece pushes in and opens up like that, and then it pushes down and locks into place like that. So that is a really nice feature of what locks these fairings onto your bike. So now we're going to move into the dry fit, or just the kind of test fit, I guess you'd call it. So you want to slide the brackets down, and so you're just seeing kind of the one side where the bracket slides down in. So it slides into place, and it's sliding into place on the other side. And then this is tipping up. So it's locked down in this place like this, so you just tip it up, and that's tipped up on both sides, and then it slides forward and into the mount. And sometimes it takes just a little bit to pop it in place, just like that. And then it snaps down. And we'll do the same thing to the other side. Push it in, snap it down, and it is in place. So my initial impression as I'm looking at the front of it is it looks like it's pretty much exactly where I want it to be. So what I'm probably going to do now is I'll take it apart. Well, I'm not going to take it apart. I'm going to take it off. I'm going to tighten down all of the areas because it looks even on the front. So when you look at this part here, it looks even all the way across. Really like the way that that looks. So I'm going to take the fairing off, and I'm going to install the windshield, and I'm going to tighten down all these grommets so that they are going to be good and solid in place, and we'll go from there. And I'll show you what we end up with for a finished product. So I did my test fit. Everything looks like it's fitting the way that I want to. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to go through and tighten these down just a little bit further than the hand tightening that I had them initially. All right, so I have the brackets tightened down, and the next step is the installation of the windshield. So I'm going to turn this a little bit, probably sideways like this. So along the windshield, there's going to be holes all the way along here. You can kind of see holes that are here all the way across. Match up to the holes that are on the windshield itself. You can kind of see these. And so that essentially fits into place like that. And along with that are the windshield installation screws. So we'll go ahead and get those on and get that put together, and we'll be ready to get this baby installed completely. All right, so we have the windshield all put together. We have all screws in. So the fairing is completely assembled. The mounting brackets are installed and tightened down. And we'll do the last part of the install, which is essentially just snapping it in and I'll give you guys kind of the overview of what it looks like. The fully installed Road Warrior fairing by Memphis Shades. I think what I lost in width from the wind splitter of Harley Davidson, I gained in height on the Road Warrior. So I believe that the windshield is just a little bit taller on the Road Warrior than what I was looking at with the wind splitter from Harley Davidson. So from a design perspective, I really, really love the way that this looks on my bike. I've always been a fan of these types of fairings, and so this I really think kind of adds to the overall aesthetic and what I've been trying to do, and what I kind of been the theme, I guess. I don't know if you want to call it a theme, but how I've been kind of doing the different mods to my bike. This kind of fits my, I don't know, my kind of design a little bit better of how I like the bike. The one thing I would have to say that I really, really like a lot better is I like the black here, where on the Harley Davidson this piece was chrome. And so I like that a lot. I'm not a big fan of the chrome. Obviously you can tell from the blacked out look on my bike that I'm not a big fan of the chrome. But overall, first impressions, I really, really like the way that this looks. I think, you know, what I see as a big difference is kind of the contour here, and specifically up here. The windshield is a lot thinner from here to here. The wind splitter went out all the way to the sides, you know, all the way to the hand controls, basically. It was a little bit lower, but where I think this is going to give me an advantage is that the wind splitter actually leaned back. Okay, so there was a nice contour to the wind splitter windshield that really lent itself to a nice look, but I think that didn't really give me the air flowing up over me as much as this will. I believe that this is going to push the air up over my head much higher up here, so I think the air is going to flow up much higher in that direction. So that's kind of what my first impressions are, and unfortunately, it being January in North Dakota, I will not be getting out and doing any testing. So my first impressions test ride of this windshield will not be, this new fairing, I guess you'd call it, is not going to be until this spring. And so probably not sometime until March or April will I be able to give an actual first impressions. But install was very, very easy, very quick. And at the end of the day, the way that I kind of installed with it fitting kind of neutral on the brackets was exactly a perfect fit, which I kind of anticipated, having installed the Memphis Shade Gauntlet fairing on my Sportster. I did that very thing, just used a neutral position, and it worked really, really well. So there you have it. That's what it looks like. All right, there you have it. The Memphis Shades Road Warrior install. Hope you got something out of it. I know that I'm really gonna like using that. I really like the way that it looks on my bike. And I'm just excited for this new season to start and to really get out there and start riding again. So in case you didn't know, I'm part of the 5 Dirty Bikers podcast. So that would be Wet Banana Mike, D-Cycle, Tony Cox, The Geared Raven, and myself, KidMoto22. So go check us out. If you like what you saw today, hit the subscribe button. It's going to be over here or over here somewhere. And if you like this video and you want to see more of what I do, I'll put up something over here or down here or something like that. And, you know, give me a thumbs up and tell your friends, or don't. But thanks for coming today, and I appreciate it. Later.